Madam Speaker, the American people have spoken. They have fired you and have chosen to end the Democrats' one-party rule throughout our government. The days of this chamber being treated as Pelosi's house instead of the people's house are over.
Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel, folks. Thank you, Fuzzy Fork. I guess Jeffrey Epstein's little black book, Visitors to the Island on the Lolita Express, that's released. I don't know, man. Anytime they release something, it's after they fix all of their problems. I know, man. What do? How can we trust anything that comes out of DC? Welcome back, folks. It's time for the monologue, followed by Live with John. And I want to thank Mr. T. I want to thank Ooman. I want to thank Jolene. I want to thank, everybody. We've got one heck of an important, powerful, crazy fucking show. And where do I start? Let's start with this. Folks, there's that Shakespeare, William Shakespeare. One of the greatest of all theatrical quoted lines, right? To be or not to be. How about to be or to be taken out? Media style. This was crazy today. And I think we should all be very concerned about this. Be afraid, be very afraid, but also be prepared. In New Jersey, at her home, a government elected official was shot. Found in her car with multiple bullet wounds outside her home. You want to talk about execution style killing? Oh, by the way, this woman who was political, her party affiliation was Republican. There will be no safe place for any of us, folks, if this gets out of hand. And there'll be no safe place for them either. I guarantee you that. I wonder how far they're going to take this, how much they're going to allow, how much they're going to encourage. I think that if they continue to encourage any of it, they're asking for a lot of pain, It's unconscionable, absolutely unconscionable what is going on. And I'm seeing it from the left over and over and over again. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that Chris Pratt's Terminal List, right? That show is getting a second season, yet the mainstream media, the left-wing lunatics, are triggered and call it right-wing revenge fantasy. Right-wing revenge fantasy. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Where do we go from here? Right? To be or not to be. I've said many times, folks, that socialists are dangerous, and that a communist is a socialist in a big hurry. Maxine Waters, Democrat, out of California, right? Member of the House of Representatives, one of the stupidest people to ever live. Mad Maxine has encouraged violence in the past to disrupt people in public places, in private places, at places of business, at places of relaxation, comfort, social gatherings. Yeah, Mad Maxine Waters denies that she's a socialist in Congress, but Representative out of Texas, Republican Chip Roy, blasted her. Absolutely blasted her. We need to stop letting these people get away with what they get away with. Right? We can't allow it. Because the more they lie, the more they get away with lies, and they need to be called on it, even though the left wing won't cover it. Mainstream media won't pass this information on. But I want you to know that our people that are in DC that are worth a shit are fighting their asses off. It was incredible. let me give you a little information here, right? The subject matter at the discussion, the meeting, had to do with a, resolution denouncing the horrors of socialism. Interesting, right? And Representative Maria Salazar, a Republican out of Florida, introduced this resolution on January 25th, denouncing the horrors of socialism. Now, AOC is an avowed socialist, right? Bernie Sanders, who was almost the Democrat presidential nominee, is a fucking communist, even though he only calls himself a socialist. Anyways, at one point, Representative Roy Chip, he got into waters and in her own words, used her words, which essentially endorsed socialism. Very interesting stuff, folks. The fight is on. You know, whether we're they call themselves Democrats or Democrat socialists or socialists or whatever, right? This is what Roy did. He says, "I've got one question for the ranking member." And then he looked at Maxine Waters. He says, "Ranking member Waters, in 2008 hearing, you said, and guess what? This liberal will be all about socializing, would be about basically taking over the government and the government running all of your companies." End quote. And then he asked Maxine Waters, simple question, do you stand by that statement? And then Maxine Waters, the douchebag she is, says, we're taking up time on basically a non-issue. It was a fucking hearing on the horrors of socialism. Yet he was pointing out that she said, folks, that the government owning businesses, that's more than socialism. That's fucking communism. She claimed that Roy and she, Chip Roy, were trying to protect America's democracy from being disrupted by socialist forces. Unbelievable. We don't have a democracy, for one, and she is anti-American. Okay, so then Waters contradicts herself again. She says, I'm not a socialist, I'm a capitalist. Unbelievable. She's talking about just the lying, folks. When these people start lying, they can lie left, they can lie right, they can lie up, they can lie down. You can't hold their feet to the fire. But Representative Chip Roy tried. He read her words from 2008 back again, daring her to comment one last time, right? He said, so you disagree with that? You now denounce that statement? She denied again that she was a socialist. Right? Unbelievable. Her praise of socialism and the government taking over businesses. Folks, these radical leftists are incredibly dangerous. We now have a politician who has been fucking shot in her driveway. Democrats everywhere, folks, are promising violence. Unbelievable. Now, I'm going to go over to the White House. We're going to leave Congress behind, go to the White House. The FBI is now going to search Mike Pence's home in Indiana and look for secret or classified documents. This is interesting. The mega corrupt are trying to hide this. Everyone has secret documents. They're hiding behind Pence's skirt. That's right. They're hiding under Mike Pence's petticoat. Is it more and more obvious to you all the time that Mike Pence and these rhinos will sell out and join the Democrats and make the Democrats look good and hide the Democrats and hide what is going on? While the Democrats hide the fact that they're fucking socialists and communists. It is just unbelievable. Right? Now, let's go back over to Congress, right? Republicans have removed radical leftist Ilhan Omar from the House Foreign Affairs Committee, voted that bitch out. Well, this is a blow to brotherly lover, isn't it? Ilhan married her brother. Gone girl. Or is it gone bitch? Unbelievable. Well, you got that. Right? That happened. Ilhan Omar, the little whatever the fuck she is gone out of that committee, off her committee assignments. I love it. I actually love it. And what is great is Rashid Tlaib, Representative Rashid Big Mouth, another one of the fabulous Big Mouth Four, whatever the fuck they're called. She threw a fit on the floor of the House. I don't know what she, why she thinks that anyone cares what she is thinking about. It's unbelievable, folks. Now, don't think that Kevin McCarthy, House Speaker, Republican House Speaker, is doing anything good for you. So they kicked Ilhan Omar off a committee. She should have never been on there in the first place. She wasn't qualified even as a Democrat. So get this. Was it McCarthy? Are we supposed to believe he's doing a great job? Surprise, surprise, surprise. McCarthy and President Joe Potato Biden have a positive tone after a meeting with each other over the nation's debt ceiling. Of course, McCarthy can work with and suck up to Biden. Of course he can. Because he's a fucking rhino. They'll sacrifice Rashid Tlaib. They'll sacrifice a couple of these people and get them off committees to make Republicans think they've won. Don't buy it, folks. We're in big fucking trouble. Big trouble. Now, this was interesting. Senator Manchin, Democrat, sellout, fucking sold out. He is a Democrat, but he sold out his own state. And Senator Cruz have a bipartisan bill that they put up. And it is halting the treasonous Biden from selling emergency oil reserves to China. I guess Senator Manchin got bought out, but he didn't get bought out all the way. He's still willing to put up a good fight. Interesting. Why would anyone in America think it's a good idea to sell our emergency oil, not our regular oil, our emergency oil to China? China is doing business with Russia. Isn't Russia supposed to be our biggest enemy right now? The greatest threat to democracy? If China can do business with Russia to get oil, then they don't need our oil. You see, China's just taking everything they can. They are gobbling up everything they can. They gobble up assets, they gobble up commodities, they gobble up nations, they gobble up ports, they gobble up companies. They're buying all they can. Makes sense, though. I guess if I was in China and one of them, I would want to destroy the world, take it over. And they're doing the best they can. Yes, they are. I tell you, these rhinos need to be exposed. I told you, if there's a Republican that fucks up, I'll criticize them. If there's a Republican that does a good job, I'll let you know. Well, Paul Ryan, former Speaker of the House under the Trump administration, right, got an earful from Trump. He called him a major loser who is now setting out to destroy Fox News. And Fox News, folks, they are no golden goose. They are no prize. They're no trophy company. All they have that is worth listening to now is, on a consistent basis, Tucker Carlson. But Trump ripped into Paul, called him a major loser. Paul Ryan. He looks like fucking Opie Cunningham with dark hair, big old ears, stupid looking jerk off out of somewhere in the upper Northwest or Midwest. What a fucking sellout rhino piece of shit. I am so sick of these people. And the rhetoric, folks, is getting increased. Right? With Maxine Waters and her lying bullshit. It's getting bad, folks. I'm glad that I have my head on my shoulders and I'm not an irrepressible, irresponsible, illogical dunderhead. But the people in charge, folks, they really seem to be. Now, I came out from a Pentagon classified briefing. I guess somebody leaked some classified information, or was it declassified? Well, the subject matter of this briefing was that Ukraine retaking Crimea was, quote, unlikely. Crimea being the Crimean Peninsula, Russia decided it was going to take it years and years ago, long before they went in to help the eastern republics of Ukraine. Very interesting. If the Pentagon knows it's going to lose, that backing Ukraine is a losing cause, why risk nuclear war? Biden? Anyone? Right? Bueller? Anyone? Why risk nuclear war if you know you can't take it back? They're not going to get back Crimea. They're not going to get back Zaporizhia. They're not going to get back any of the small breakaway republics that said F you to Ukraine. The people, what do you think would happen to the people if those republics went back over to Ukraine? Do you think the ethnic Russians would last a week with Zelensky and his fucking henchmen out there and his goon squad, his Gestapo, literally Nazis, Azov battalion? Do you think they would live a week? They were already being slaughtered in what was described as war atrocities. And which Zelensky was like, well, it is what it is. It's just those fucking Russians. You can kill them all you want. They're just Russians. There's some problems here, folks. Unbelievable problems. Right. Now, this is a huge deal, and I want to thank everyone who sent this to me. There's an Army lieutenant colonel. Her name is Teresa Long. Army government, lieutenant colonel officer, said that there is a, quote, stunning increase in serious harm in young, healthy pilots. Okay, folks, to be a pilot in the Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, Navy, you have to be in very, very good condition. Essentially, in order to handle the rigors of the job, you've got to be a super athlete, right? Now, let me read you this. This is an article. It was authored by Carly Mayberry from the Epoch Times. It's been a year since 4 Department of Defense whistleblowers found a sudden increase in various diseases in the Defense Medical Epidemiology Database, the DMED. And this coincided directly with the introduction of, drum roll, the Jim Jones juice. And now, folks, there's more evidence. There's new evidence, and it's more evidence, right? Now, folks, Lieutenant Colonel Teresa Long is a board-certified aerospace medicine doctor and also a brigade flight surgeon specializing in aviation mishap, right? Yeah, she was one of the 4 whistleblowers. There's a sharp increase in serious harm reports in pilots. Yep, there you go. Another whistleblower complaint was made its way to Senator Ron Johnson's office. So Long told the Epoch Times, quote, what I found was a clear signal that something in 2021 changed the health of service members. After querying all pilots across the Department of Defense for all-cause morbidity and mortality, I found a stunning increase in the number of reportable events, spiking from an average of 226 to 4,059 reports in 2022. Okay, the 226 reportable events. That was from the years 2016 to 2019. So that's the average, 226. Not a bad little segment, right? So in order to find out how the increase was, 226 into 4,000 is 4 times 4. It is close to 17 or 18 1,700 times more reportable events. 1,700% more. That's not like a 10% cost increase in what we're paying for eggs, or even a 100% increase in the price of gasoline. It is 1,700% more in a single fucking year, starting with the Jim Jones juice. Folks, this is a serious issue. And it is not, I repeat, not getting better. That is unfucking believable. It is intolerable what these people are doing. And I've got more, folks. I've got more. This is a shit show on fucking steroids. Researchers in the US and researchers in, that's right, the United Kingdom have discovered that cerveza bug treatment that is created by Merck, M-E-R-C-K, big pharmaceutical, is causing virus mutations. Oh, isn't that just fucking dandy? Virus mutations. Wait till you hear what these virus mutations do to human beings. I'm not even going to dehumanize a human by calling them patients. Just because you're a fucking patient doesn't mean they can kill you. So there's this drug called Lagevrio, and it is a drug. It was created by Merck, and it is meant to treat cerveza bug, but it's causing the cerveza bug virus to mutate inside the patients. That's fascinating, is it not? That's fascinating. This drug, folks, interestingly, right, was supposed to treat cerveza bug. But it seems that the drug deliberately alters a virus's genetic code, greatly increasing the mutation risk. Now, Merck was warned that this could be problematic, that mutations could make the virus more dangerous and difficult to treat in the future. Fuck it, who cares? We're Merck. And they threw Lagevrio out on the market, right? Unbelievable, folks, what these people are doing. You want politics and shit hits the fan? You got it. You got it. It's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. You want the government? You want to look at the Congress? You want to look at the president? You want to look at the Pentagon? They're causing shit to hit the fan everywhere. It is unbelievable. Unfucking believable. What is going on? Where do we go next, right? Well, while we're on cerveza bug, let's just, it's some days it's too much. Some days it just makes me fucking sick, and it's hard to turn away. It's hard to deal with this. But what can you do? Really, what can you do? So I'll get into it. Let's take a wild freaking guess. Sponsored by the Jim Jones Juice and Dr. Fauci. You bet. Here we are, and here we are. There's now an 18-year-old American athlete, a high school athlete, on life support, suffering a huge, massive heart attack during a basketball game. Basketball game, folks. High school basketball game. Why is an 18-year-old athlete now on life support? Why did an 18-year-old athlete have cardiac arrest? I wonder what the fuck caused that. Do you have any idea? Any guess? Well, I'm going to help you out. There is a mother who is outraged. Here's her quote. "They are killing us all with this now." Her 8-year-old daughter, folks, dead. What did she get? Well, she died after getting Jim Jones juice. I think the information is starting to overwhelm that this stuff doesn't help, that their treatments for it make it worse, that people who take their treatments weaken their immune system, create worse and worse, shall we say, versions of the virus as it mutates and changes. Unbelievable. Just unfucking believable. Well, John, but what about the junior varsity basketball player? That's right. Junior varsity basketball player suffers a seizure and a massive heart attack during a game. I used to watch sports. I used to watch football when I was younger and wait for those Ronnie Lott hits. Just wait for them. Wait for those big hits, right? Name your favorite free safety who was like a heat-seeking missile that would just go in and just cream someone. And you'd be like, yeah, they'll get up. They'll be off the field in a couple of minutes. They're fine. They just having a good time playing the game. Now you can be you could probably rest assured that if you were to go to a high school basketball game, football game, that you just might see the same thing. Only there's no big hit on the field. It's just going to be someone keeling over and having a fucking heart attack. Only unlike Ronnie Lott or Rod Woodson or any of the other big hitters in football that used to knock people on their ass, these people, they don't get up, folks. They fucking die. At best, they go to the hospital and they're in intensive care. Blood clots, strokes, heart attacks, seizures. Those are neurological. Those are cardiovascular. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now to this. Developing story, still developing. Hunter Biden, that's right, the son of the President of the United States, through his attorney, has asked that his daddy's assistant attorney general and the Delaware State Attorney General and the IRS, Hunter Biden's attorneys, which means he's doing this on behalf of Hunter, is asking everybody in government to go after the individuals who were close to President Trump, who shared information from his laptop. That's right. Isn't that fucking amazing? So what you do is you smoke crack and other various drugs, snort coke off of hookers' asses, screw said hookers, take pictures of all of this, weigh your drugs on a scale, argue with hookers about the amount of blow or smoke or whatever, admit to bribery schemes, extortion schemes, racketeering schemes in various emails with friends and business associates about your dad, the big guy who is now the president, who wants his 10%. Interesting, huh? Then he's going to go out and say, I want my attorneys, you're going to go after these people. And he's going to government, folks. He's going to government offices and telling them to investigate. Unbelievable. Investigate people who are releasing information that he abandoned at a computer repair warehouse. Just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. And this is brilliant. The attorney comes back at the end of the day. Hunter Biden's attorney comes back and says that they did not say that the laptop was Hunter's. This guy is as dumb as Potato Joe. Folks, How can you tell the Attorney General or the Assistant Attorney General of the United States government? How can you tell the Attorney General of the state of Delaware? How can you tell the Internal Revenue Service to go after and investigate people for releasing information on a computer that wasn't even yours, which you're not admitting is real information, even though the FBI is now saying that it is, and they're done lying about it? They want it both ways. They want everyone to be in trouble. They want to go after their political enemies. They want to use government resources to do it. I have no clue why this person is not being investigated. Who is Hunter Biden to get the assistant to the Attorney General to go after private citizens for releasing information about a crime that has been committed? Several crimes that have been committed by several people who are in office, who are acting as foreign agents and aren't registered. I tell you what, once the Attorney General, the FBI, the IRS, once they go after Hunter Biden, investigate him, prosecute him, convict him, and throw him in prison for the rest of his fucking life. Once they do that, then I'll say, okay, now go ahead and go after the computer store guy and see what you can get him on. They're going to just fucking breeze by all the crimes committed by Hunter and his dad. They're just going to breeze by them and go, okay, who released that information? You're in big trouble. How fucking amazing is that? Right? That's the type of stupidity that we are continuing to see out of people like Maxine Waters, socialist, anti-American idiot, Democrat Rashid Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, AOC, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi. You got to vote for it and pass it before you can read it. Unbelievable. The just stupidity, folks. It's sheer stupidity. And they're not going away. They're not going away, right? Hunter Biden wants to say that the contents of the laptop are weaponized. He's the one that fucking weaponized them. And then he is the one who left his weaponized contents open for public examination. Unbelievable. Now, interestingly, they had a how do I phrase this? I don't even want to bother trying anymore. These people, they're out of their minds, folks. I want to do this. One last thing here. Fuzzy Fort just sent this to me. And he says, I'm glad I saved this from May 4th all the way back in 2020. An Italian leader claimed that the numbers of people with cerveza bug weren't real, and that it was used to impose and install a dictatorship. Yeah, I tell you what, Fuzzy, that's definitely real, because that's exactly what we're seeing. Unbelievable. I don't know, folks. I mean, does it ever end? It's not going to end well. That much I can guarantee you. It's not going to end well. I covered a lot of information here as fast as I could, folks. I've still got more. Let's do this. It is, well, we're over halfway into this, and I've gone too long. Holy cow. So let's go to Ask John Live, where we do the Q&A. Woo! I hope everyone enjoyed Zero Dark 30 this morning when I talked about Anthony Huber's dad. Anthony Huber being the skateboard geek who tried killing Kyle Rittenhouse by beating him over the head with a fucking end of a skateboard, and Kyle shot him and killed him. I hope you enjoyed that discussion. You have questions about that or anything else, comments, statements, let's get them down below, and off we go. Let's do some questions here. Jolene, ooh man, who do we want to put up? Here we are. Ooh man wants to jump in, and he says, hear about the St. George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. The George Floyd Justice in Policing Act they're trying to pass. And he says, what the actual fuck? More laws to protect criminals while committing crimes. That should get the rest of the good cops to quit. And then police stations will continue to hire cops who are dumber and dumber and dumber until they're complete idiots. Kind of like Memphis is dealing with, you know, they had 5 or is it now 6 cops that beat another man to death. And the rumor is, and it's just a rumor, that this guy, the victim of the beating of his life, literally, was screwing one of the other cops' ex-wife, as if that justifies beating someone to death. Anyways, once again, we've got stupid dealing with stupid, and that's just not a good combination, folks. It never is. And passing a law, the Justice in Policing Act. Yeah, just a gentle reminder, folks. St. George Floyd was high on enough fentanyl at the time of his arrest or attempted arrest that I think one physician said it was enough to kill a horse. Before he was arrested, detained, or even touched, George Floyd was complaining about his inability to breathe. St. George Floyd was, at the time the police were called, committing another felony. He was passing checks, counterfeit money, all kinds of shit. He is no saint, but he's been sainted. He did not die a martyr's death, except that posthumously he was awarded martyrdom. Unbelievable, folks. But believe it, because it's real. It truly is real. Let us move on. What is it? Who is it? How are we going to talk about it? It is Charlanator. And she has a quote, very much like Mr. Skylight has on Sunday Night Live. Charlanator says, quote, it's not the strongest of species that survives or the most intelligent, but rather the one most adaptable to change, coming from Charles Darwin. Now, I am no fan of Darwin, or at least I wasn't until I read that he thought his own theory of evolution to be very flawed. That's correct. He came up with his theory of evolution because that's what he was paid to do. You see, Charles Darwin didn't own a giant ship, and at the time he wrote his crap, he couldn't afford to buy a boat and sail all the way over to the Galapagos. I don't know, was he paid for? Was his trip sponsored by the Royal Society of England? Trying to remember exactly who it was that paid for his trip. I think it was the Royal Society. And it goes to show that bribery or having your scientific research results influenced by those who pay you money, it's not a new thing. Back in the 1800s, Charles Darwin took a little trip over the Galapagos, looked at some lizards, some turtles, some birds, came up with his theory and said, there you go. Thanks for the trip. And he's been credited ever since. But his own theory, he doubted had evolved and grown the legs with which it needed to walk. And by the time we get to our lives, this theory now walks on water. Theory of evolution. So once I heard that Charles doubted his own thing, he's like, fuck it, it's just a theory. Yeah, well, we've got conspiracy theories too, but there you have it. Interesting, folks. The universe, in my opinion, is not what it seems. The universe, our universe, that we're told exists isn't exactly what, it's not what they say it is. What science. If there's any fucking evidence in our lives right now, and pardon my bellicosity, if there's any evidence now that anytime someone says it's a scientific fact, it's scientifically proven, look at Dr. Fauci. There you go. Can you ever trust anyone ever again who says science? It's proven. Like climate change. It's proven. You're stupid. Nah, right? Fuck them. It is incredible, folks, how many half-truths and non-truths we're told about our universe. No, it goes far beyond Dr. Fauci. Trust me on this one. One day we'll find out. All righty. Thou shalt not worship false idols. Jolene, what do we have next? We got Suze, who says, they say that the human brain developed because our ancestors learned to cook meat. So it is interesting how they don't want us eating meat now. It's almost as if they want our brains to go dumb. I tell you what, it's quite interesting, is it not? They've known about nutrition, folks. What minerals we need and how many, what vitamins we need and how much fat we need or don't, since, I don't know, the 1920s. They had it figured out. And they've continued to figure out from, I think, the 1980s on about cholesterol. Cholesterol bad, eggs bad. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, no, eggs are good. Yay! Good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. Cholesterol went from being like Satan's own body part to, well, you know, there's good stuff too. They're figuring it out. They figured it out. They know what the hell's going on. So let us examine this thing you have. The human brain developed because our ancestors learned to cook meat. I will say that our bodies learned to adapt and benefit from a meat diet, right? Just like you can be a normal person, but if you lift weights, your body adapts big muscles, right? Same with the brain. You feed it the things that it needs the most, and it will become more intelligent, more powerful, right? If you're malnourished, you can't think. If you're well-nourished, you can think, you can study, you can improve yourself. I agree with this. And it's interesting that research has demonstrated that people who don't have animal fats in their diet, their brains are deficient. So all those vegans out there who think they're so smart, right? They're not. They're not as smart as they should be, rather. We could say that. But I say let the vegans continue to be vegans. Don't eat your animal fats. I love it when vegans eat fish and then claim that they're vegans. Well, I'm a vegetarian. I mean, a vegan, vegetarian, but I eat fish. That's an animal. That's meat. Well, it swims. Okay, that makes a big fucking difference. It's still an animal. It is not a vegetable. Anyways, it's like arguing with fucking children. You see them steal a cookie out of the cookie jar. You're like, hey, saw you take that cookie. And like, I didn't take no cookie. Keep fucking arguing. Make my point for me. Okay, Jolene, who do we have next on the Prepared Mind channel? We're doing Live with John. And you can only be live with John if you join us on the preparedmind.club, $2 a month, or subscribestar.com, $2 a month. So, Chicken Egg Lady writes in and says, just can't say thank you enough, John, for all you and your crew do. Thank you, Chicken Egg Lady. I tell you, folks, we've got it all here. You want to know about chickens? You want to know about eggs? You come here. We got it. Thank you, Chicken Egg Lady. You and others like you, everyone on the Prepared Mind Network, on the R Syndicate. That's the rsyndicate.com. You're thinking, right? You got to think. I know I'm a little bit crass. I know I curse a lot. I know I get really all shook up and stuff and enraged. But we got to keep our heads and our wits about us, right? You need to be prepared: food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and have a plan. Have a plan right here. If you don't have a plan about what to do when things go haywire, You got all the food, you got all the stuff, you got the things and the place. That's great, but you need to understand those around us, human nature. And if we do a little callback here, people who are not thinking well, probably because they have poor diets and are taking a lot of drugs, starting to sound familiar, are making bad decisions, dumb decisions, and they've been heavily indoctrinated and politicized, starting to sound like the party in question in Washington, D.C. Why do they make such stupid decisions? Where do they get such harebrained fucking ideas? It's becoming crystal clear, is it not? They're irrational, and that makes them dangerous. That's right. Natural selection is an interesting theory. Yeah, you make dumb decisions, you die. If you're weak, you die. If you're incapable, unwilling, and unable to adapt, you die. So you've got to have all of those things on your side. You just do. Okay, Jolene. Oh, Moo Man, what do we want to do next? Who's up? What do we got? We got Bonnie Blue 2A, always a brain twister. She says, we eat meat because of the largest climate change ever recorded in human history, the flood of Noah's era. Before that, atmospheric and climate change, we ate only plants. Interesting. Addressing this, the Noah's Ark flood is not just in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Jewish Bible. It's not just in the beginning of the Christian Holy Bible. It is a story that is shared across and around the world, which to me is evidence that some sort of cataclysmic flood occurred, and it did affect the whole planet. It's very interesting. The story is also shared in the Epic of Gilgamesh, a Sumerian tale. So it's a story of very ancient history, right? And it kind of coincides with Plato's Atlantis, which was said to have taken place around the year 10,500 BC, right? 12,500 years ago. And so that story was passed on down, the peoples who were part of it. Yeah. Would you call that climate change? I don't know if Bonnie Blue is teasing us about the largest climate change ever recorded. And it was, folks, literally recorded for all of humanity because all humans seem to experience it. Now, with regard to whether or not we only ate plants before that, I can't say. But I find it hard to believe that humans didn't eat anything from the world of meat. I mean, you put a piece of meat on fire and it smells really good. Maybe it didn't smell good back then to them. They're like, oh my gosh, roasted animal, that's terrible. Give me some more of those weeds and sticks over there. I want to make me a salad. It's hard to say, but it's funny how myth, what scientists call myth, they're finding so much fact and truth in. Anyways, thank you, Bonnie Blue. I'm going to have to think about that. That's interesting to me that you assert that humans only ate plants before then. It's possible. What do I know? I'm just one little man. And many people have gone before me and done a lot of work. Let's do this. Let us, I guess I'm an expert in my own world, in my own time. So it's hard for me to be an expert on what happened before 12,500 BC. I can't even remember 12,500 minutes ago. Okay, thank you, Jolene, for giving me a chance to express more of my ignorance. Let's move on, if we shall. Who's got the next question, statement, comment, prediction? And it's a statement from the Slim One. And he says, I apologize for my lack of punctuation. just found it really shitty how nurses, etc., want everyone masked up. However, top dog didn't even care, apparently. Sorry, just trying to shorten questions. There we go. I got you, man. This is from the other night. He did a shorthand question that I just couldn't translate. I find it really shitty myself how nurses want everyone masked up. I remember when masks were not needed. Not needed. 2 masks, 3 masks. I found it fascinating when they first said COVID is transmissible through the air. And they came out and they denied that. Denied it. Oh, no panicking. Because everyone was like, well, if you get sneezed on, you're going to die. Right? They convinced everyone that if you get this shit, you're going to die. And then they said it's easily transmissible. And they're like, no panicking. But then they're like, oh, we need this panic. We're not getting enough people scared. Yeah, look out. Go put on a mask. Right? Unbelievable. Unfucking believable. Sorry. Top dog. That would be Dr. Fauci. Anyways, thank you, Slim One, very much. I too am tired of the hypocrites out there, the supposed experts. Right? If you're an educated person, we're supposed to revere and worship you. But if you've been educated in lies, why should anyone give a shit about anything you say? But that's precisely what we deal with when it comes to experts. And not only do we have to deal with experts who have been led to believe exactly right what someone else wants them to believe, which they then revere and hold as gospel. I've got the gospel word on medicine or anything, right? You can use science, you can use evidence, you can use critical thinking, logic, reason, and you approach one of these so-called experts, and they won't listen to the facts. Right? I've had some nurses in my life, and I found them to be some of the most pig-headed, stubborn, bullshitting hypocrites ever. And I've known some very good nurses as well. But trust me, folks, there is no profession out there, anywhere, that you'll find a 100% they're good people. It's just human nature, sadly. And human nature being at what it is, and our culture, our history, right, our current events, everything directs me to think that we're in big trouble and you better get prepared, right? Knowing what humans are going to do based on what we're seeing humans do. All right, let us move on if we shall. What have we got next? We got Orlando checking in, and thank you again, Orlando. He says, hey, this is a statement. I would imagine the councilwoman shooting is another ill attempted to collect our pew-pews as something major is coming our way, and they would need to minimize the number of people who own said pew-pews. Yes, he brought this up with me earlier today. And this Republican councilwoman, typically in local politics, you don't hear about partisan sides. They try and pretend like, well, I'm a nonpartisan, but I'd want to raise taxes, right? Anyways, I don't think it's being played that way. When you first brought it up, Orlando, that, they're going to show that a politician has been assassinated. It is a hit, right? It is a gangland mafia execution. We need to get guns out of the hands of the people because our precious lawmakers are dying. The one flaw I found in that, Orlando, is that the councilwoman is a Republican. Now, if she had been a black female Democrat who was some kind of rising star in politics, who was waxed, then I could probably lean more towards your side saying, oh yeah, they're going to say this was a political execution and that Republicans are evil and that they're all Trump supporters and make America great again and we need to get rid of the guns. But since this was a person of color of the female persuasion and a Republican, they don't want to run to her defense. So I don't think they're using it the way that you are imagining they could. That said, I don't see why they couldn't or wouldn't if they found it beneficial. Of course, they would want to leave the party affiliation out of it and just let people assume, oh, woman with a tan, politician killed, must have been those evil Republicans that did it to her. Yeah. Woo! I want to cover this, folks. You're going to enjoy this. World War III. It is on. Soldiers of fortune everywhere. Pay attention. You are about to get a bonus. In Russia, the Kremlin, their version of the Pentagon, their version of the White House, their version of Washington, D.C., all rolled into one, the Kremlin. It is offering cash, cold, hard, Russian rubles, hard cash for burning, destroying, or capturing U.S. tanks, NATO tanks. If they do that in Ukraine, they're being paid bonuses, folks. Cash bonuses, right? They're incentivizing the destruction of Ukraine and its military hardware. Folks, you ever hear or wonder where the term soldiers of fortune came from? Throughout history, mercenaries have been groups hired by governments to do their dirty work. And it did not matter that they weren't an official government institution. The mere fact that they were mercenaries was not an insult to anybody. It wasn't an offense to anybody who hired them. And it wasn't something that they could be guilty of via criticism for doing. You need an army, you hire one. Private armies were for sale. And the rules of war and of engagement were, when you take another ship at sea, the crew divides the booty, the bounty, right? The prize. On the sea, it's prize. On the land, it's booty. Right? The spoils went to the victor directly right there and then. Here we have Russia, right? The Kremlin, because it sounds more dirty. They're kind of reverting to their old ways. They're reverting to the old ways of the West. That's right. This isn't a Russian thing. It's not a Chinese thing. It's everywhere thing. Everywhere on the planet throughout all human history. You could even go into the Bible. There's an example of a story there about one of the times that the conquering army of Israelites, they were told that they weren't to take any booty. And it's another moral lesson, right? Another moral story about doing as you're told and obeying. But yeah, it's right there. In this case, you will not take their stuff. And of course, idiots took the stuff and bad things befell them, yada, yada, yada. Right? Folks, it has hit the fan. To be or not to be taken out is going to be a question many of us face. And I consider it every day. Am I doing well? Am I in the right place? What would happen if? Am I exposed? Am I at risk? What are the odds? As I go about my daily business. I hope that you put some thought into your daily business as well and make sure you're secured, protected, and as safe as can be. Because, folks, chance favors the prepared mind. Aren't you glad you are a prepper? Semper Fi. God bless America. And I'll see you on Friday tomorrow. 0 dark 30.